What's up, guys? Welcome back to Sunday Sports Club Podcast, a podcast all about sports, except this one isn't fucking boring, or at least my goal is to make it as exciting or as digestible as possible, because you guys might be looking at your boyfriend, your dad, and they're yelling at the screen and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this such a big deal? So welcome to Sunday Sports Club Podcast. If you guys are new here, my name is Allison. My husband has been in the NFL for 7 years. He is currently with the Las Vegas Raiders, and I'm coming to you live from Las Vegas because I'm currently living here. We have been through it during my husband's NFL career. So I feel like I have some sort of place to be able to tell you guys, hey, this is what happens, this is what this looks like, and also kind of talk about the rules. I find football super interesting. I always have. I think just growing up, it always interested me. And then in college, I fell in love with it even more. And then once I started dating Isaac, I was like, oh, fuck, like it's even more interesting when you know, one, what the fuck is going on, and two, you know something about the players. It's like, it's a personal aspect that if you feel like you have some skin in the game, like you know about this guy and his wife, or you know, oh, this guy did this and yada, yada, yada. I think it makes it more interesting because then it's kind of like a reality TV show, except a little bit less drama. Honestly, no, I kind of disagree. There's a lot of drama in the NFL, but I'm getting ahead of myself. If you guys aren't following us on Sunday Sports Club Podcast Instagram, go and follow us there because I am sharing game day outfits and small snippets that are super digestible, and I can break down some of these rules, and yeah, it's just a little community over there. So go ahead, follow the Instagram. And with that being said, I kind of want to just jump into this week. This week we are talking about something that I find super interesting and that you could go to an avid football fan and they probably wouldn't know all this information. So I love sharing things like that because at the end of the day, if you're trying to show somebody up and be like, hey, I know more about football than you, this is one of those episodes to listen to because not a lot of people talk about what actually happens behind the scenes during an NFL home game, and that's what we're talking about. So this week, we're talking about what happens behind the scene of an NFL away game or NFL home game. Sorry. I'm filming this currently on Sunday night and it's going live on Monday morning. And tomorrow night, the Raiders have a Monday night football game against the Packers, and it is in Las Vegas. So we are quite literally living through everything I'm about to talk about. And yeah, it's super fresh in my head. So we might as well just go ahead and jump right into it. Let me know if you guys like the shorter to the point style episodes because I feel like I'd rather get straight to the point and keep you guys interested instead of me talking for 50 minutes. And then at the end, you guys are like, wait, what just happened? And if that's the case, I can upload like 2 episodes that are 20 minutes each week. And just, yeah, let me know because at the end of the day, it's just me and myself and I just sitting in my Las Vegas home recording this while my husband takes a nap in the other room, okay? So the day before a home game is kind of a very relaxing day. So Isaac will go into the facility in the morning, and I'm not too sure. I can only speak to what I know, but I'm pretty sure that he like goes over film. They like watch the other team. They have walkthroughs, and it's a very simple, like low impact kind of day. You're not practicing the day before a football game. You're not lifting the day before a football game because why would you do that when you're about to push around 300-pound men? You wouldn't, right? So Isaac went into the facility this morning at 9:30. And when I say this morning, this is the day before a game. Went into the facility around 9:30, and he didn't get home until about 1 o'clock. It varies team to team on how intense the day before a football game is. So for example, Isaac was with the Chargers and he said that these days would be max 2 hours. So it just depends team to team. It also depends on your head coach, on coordinators, on your GM. He could have played for the Chargers, 5-6 years ago, and they could be running their organization totally different. A lot of these rules and what practices look like can really vary based on the team, the GM, and the coaches. After Isaac got home, he did not have anything else to do today until he reports tonight. Because it's the day before a game, we like to keep it very low impact. We're watching Sunday football. Usually he has football games on Sundays, so we're usually watching college football, whereas now it's a Monday night game, so we're watching NFL NFL football. Very low impact. Like I said, he's taking a nap in the other room, although I'm a loud talker, so it probably won't last for long. And we just kind of keep it easy. Maybe Postmates, DoorDash. This is not a sponsor, although if you want to, reach out. No, but it's a super easy day, and it's kind of just a day for me and Isaac to like spend time together, just like sit on the couch and do nothing. These would be our lazy days because at the end of the day, you don't want him to be exhausted. But speaking of the end of the day, so around 6:30 or 7, Isaac has to go to the Raiders facility to have meetings. And they have meetings. The whole team is there. They're talking through the game for tomorrow. And after he goes to the facility, he immediately goes to the team hotel. So even though it is a home game, players do not sleep at home before a home game. Players sleep at a hotel. It is the team hotel. They have their own floors at this hotel so that there's like no breach in security. And Isaac has slept at this hotel during all of NFL training camp, and he sleeps here before every single home game. And they do have bed checks. Something a lot of people wouldn't know is that NFL players have bed checks the night before a home game. Around 9:30, 10, Isaac is obviously winding down for the night. He's about to go to sleep for the game the next day, but they do have bed checks. So they'll knock on the door, they'll open the door, and they'll creep their head in and be like, hey, just get a little verbal, hey. And then they close the door and it's like, all right, he's good to go. And then they do have security standing at the elevators. So like I could never go to his room ever. I've never been to his room like during NFL training camp, except to move him out. I was able to go. But aside from that, nobody is allowed on the floor because I don't know. I think you might even get cut. I actually think I heard of a story of a guy having his girlfriend in his hotel room and he got cut. I think he played for the Rams. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that story because I'm pretty sure that was on, what was it called? Hard Knocks. It was on Hard Knocks. So it is very against the rules. You do not have anybody in your hotel room. It is just you, yourself, and you. Yourself and you. I feel like I could have said that a little bit better, but it's a very easy night for Isaac. And I kind of like the fact that Isaac doesn't sleep at home the night before a game because I'm the type of person that I'm also trying to prepare for the game, right? Like my game day routine is probably more important than Isaac's. I'm self-tanning. I'm doing my eyebrows. I have a deep conditioning treatment in. I'm going all out and Isaac's just sleeping. So it is very important that he not get in the way of my nighttime routine the day before a game. He goes to bed super early. He does have like a bag full of stuff. I think he's going to post a TikTok on what is in his bag for a game or like the night before a game, what's in his bag and like what is he packing for the hotel. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek, but if you want to go over to his TikTok and see what is all about that, you're more than welcome to. Inside, he usually has like a sound machine, his skincare that I have been forcing him to start putting on his face. This man sets like 20 alarms because he's terrified to sleep through an alarm, and also the outfit that he's going to wear to the game the next day. After he goes to sleep, he wakes up the next morning and usually will go into the facility. He might use some of their amenities, like he might use the pool, the hot tub, ice bath. The players are free to leave the hotel the next morning. Like as long as they slept there, you're Gucci, you're good to go. You can do whatever you want the morning of a football game. So 1:00 games are very different from what Isaac and I do during night games. And because we're on the West Coast, our night game is at 5:15. Whereas if you're on the East Coast, your game can be, is that 8:15? That's really late. So we're running really early over here, but it definitely varies from a 1 p.m. game to a 5:15 p.m. game. So Isaac will wake up, he'll go to the facility, he'll eat breakfast there, he'll walk or run around and like kind of get loose, he'll stretch, he'll do hot tub and yada yada, and then he will come home, which a lot of players do not come home. It just varies on the player and what their traditions are and what their routine is and what they feel is going to set them up for a football game. Isaac has done both in the past. I feel like when he was a rookie or like his first 4 years, he was a lot more strict on his routine. But I think as the years have progressed, he's realized that if he stresses out about a certain routine, he plays a little bit more stiff. And that's obviously all just in his head, or it's not. I don't know. I guess how relaxed your day is and like what sets you up for your day. If I'm feeling good about my outfit, I'm going to have an incredible day. If Isaac's strict about his NFL game day routine, might play a little bit worse. I don't know. So he'll come home and just kind of hang out, like lay in bed, watch a movie, watch TV, go over film. And we just kind of keep it low key. We don't really talk about the football game. I'm usually getting ready. He hangs out with me in the bathroom. I'm filming TikToks. He's like, okay, like I'm going to go lay down by myself. After he comes home, we then head to the football game. Now, it depends on if I have family in town. And usually I do not. I feel like we really don't have a lot of guests during football season, which for me is a huge sigh of relief, because finding tickets and getting everybody wrangled up, it can just be a lot. And that's not to say family doesn't come and visit us, but we have a lot of games this upcoming football season that are in the states that our families live in. So it's very convenient because it's like, oh, okay, 1 or 2 games this football season. It's very easy. On a day where Isaac doesn't have any guests, I don't have any guests, we drive to the football game together. So that might be surprising to a lot of people that football players can drive to their own NFL game. And even more so, I'm able to drive with him to an NFL game as well. If we have guests like we do this weekend, Isaac will actually take a bus to the stadium. Teams do offer a bus from the facility to the stadium, and then after the game, they can take the bus back to the facility because obviously they park there, and that can be the method of transportation. Sometimes Isaac does prefer to do that, just because sitting in traffic and like having to stress about the game can be a lot. Actually, last football game, we drove to the football game, me, Isaac, and his dad, and we were running a little bit behind, which you don't want to be running behind on your own football game day. We went to go down the street and they ended up closing the street, so it was only a one-way, and we were like running late, so we had never known that they did this at a certain time. So then we had to have a police escort drive us down this one-way street. And I'm just like, I get anxiety about a lot of things. And that was one thing I did get anxiety about. I'm like pushing my head in my face, in my hands. Like, I do not want to look at this. We did make it, and he did make it in time. So that's a sigh of relief. It's a reason that now he's like, well, you know what? I might as well just take the team bus because they do have a police escort. So there's not any worrying about traffic or being late. And if he was late, a lot of the other players would also be late. Each team does vary how many player parking passes that you get. For the Raiders, each player only gets 1 player pass, and all the players have their own specific parking lot. And this is just to make sure that the security, these guys can leave their cars there and not worry about getting ruined. And after the game, autographs and all of that, they also don't have to worry about like getting bombarded or having to walk across the street to their car. Each team my husband has been with, every team has had their own player parking lot. Now, some parking lots are a little bit more secure than others. I want to say you could easily hop that fence. I'm not going to release any information as to where the player parking lot is. And they do have security, so you're probably going to get caught. But whereas it was like highly, highly secured. Like one time Isaac forgot his parking pass and they were like, prove it, like pull up Wikipedia, prove it that you're a player. And that's exactly what we did. We literally pulled up Wikipedia to prove to the security that Isaac was in fact on the NFL team. So that's a little fun story for you, but we are not allowed to forget parking passes from here on out. After 7 years, you kind of learn like what is your mental checklist, what is on your mental load for the day. And you don't forget because it does kind of stress you out. Because Isaac only gets 1 parking pass for the Raiders, I think the Chargers gave 2, the Colts gave 2, but the Wives had to park in a different parking lot. And then the Browns, I don't know. I always drove with Isaac to the stadium, so that doesn't, I don't know. But the Raiders only give 1 parking pass to each player. And because of that, if Isaac doesn't take the bus to the stadium, I have to drive with him, or else I can't go down where the family is allowed. I can't like get my wristband. I can't go to his car because it's very, very secured. So if I don't drive with him or if I don't have the parking pass, I literally cannot access it at all. And I could pull up my Wikipedia all I want, but they would be like, little girl, we do not care who you are. We don't care who you think you are. You're not allowed to see your husband. And then I would just have to walk home. I wouldn't walk home. You guys might find this interesting, but the first 4 years Isaac was in the NFL, he had this idea in his head that he played better if I drove to the game. So I'm just driving down the highway, driving down the 405 to SoFi Stadium. Well, it actually wasn't SoFi Stadium at that point. It was StubHub. But I was driving to these games. I think eventually he realized that I have a touch of road rage, and he was like, never mind. Like, I don't feel safe getting to the football game with my wife driving. So now if we drive together, he usually drives himself, but he does make me DJ. He usually makes me like pull up a playlist or it's usually a playlist. It's never a podcast. He's not listening to Sunday Sports Club podcast on the way to his game. Once we are at the stadium, we have to show Isaac's badge to, when I say like 10 people, I'm not kidding, like literally 10 people. And then we drive down the ramp over to the player parking lot. We park the car and Isaac heads into the game and I stay in the car for probably like 2 hours. So the stadium doesn't open to the public. And I am, unfortunately, also the public. Even though my husband's playing, I'm still the public. The stadium doesn't open before the game until 2 hours before. So I am sitting in the car. I'm jamming up to music. I'm posting TikToks. I'm just kind of like hanging out in the car until the stadium opens. And then I usually head in. Now, I feel like because of football and like changing teams and like being new to this team, I think that in the first few weeks, it's not awkward, but it's like not a lot of people have plans before games. Whereas then I feel like more towards like November, December, I think people will be like tailgating together or getting brunch and then going to the stadium together. And it becomes a closer community the more you get into football season. Whereas in right now, I do just, in fact, sit in my car unless I see another girl that I know and then I'll hang out like in the parking lot. But Vegas is hot. I did that last game and I probably will pack a cooler in the future because I was sweating, like boob sweat, falling down before the game. So I would probably not do that again. In my husband and I's experience, because yes, even though my husband's in the NFL, I also experience the NFL lifestyle as well. In our experience, the NFL team that he plays for usually has a specific entrance for the family. With the Browns, it was like you had your name written on a list. For the Raiders, they have a certain amount of family passes that they can request. You can't request any additional ones. In the Colts, I think I had a wristband or something. And then the Chargers, a wristband. So a majority is like a wristband. You like have some sort of identification showing that you're able to get back into that parking lot. And if you don't have that identification, you better hope that your husband can find you after the game because you're not getting in there. There's no luck with that. So for the Raiders, after I sit in the car for my 2 hours, I then walk into the stadium and I go through this own private security where all the players go through and all the wives, all the family, the coach's family, everybody goes through the security. They check your bag and then you go into the stadium and go up this elevator up to the general public area, wherever your football seats, wherever your tickets are for that football game. You then just like kind of flow into the normalness and you're like, oh, and my husband's on the field, but this is just like all normal. Each team treats family very, very differently. So the Raiders do have a little family area that you can go to before the game. They have like sandwiches and fresh fruit and salads. This is the first NFL team my husband has been with that has been so involved with the family. As a wife, I love that so much because when you're new to a city, you're new to a team, you're new, like just in general, it can be really just such a relief because that you can meet a lot of girls there. It's also a great place, just like if you have kids, to let them run around before game time. And for me, I guess I don't really have to sit in my car for 2 hours. Like I guess I could just go and sit in the family area for 2 hours. I'll just note that. Hopefully I won't have to do that ever again. But the Raiders do have a family area. Some teams have family rooms. So for the Indianapolis Colts, there was a designated family room where women could go down and breastfeed. It was a private bathroom and also just an area that you could cool off. It was air conditioned. Sometimes they have food. They definitely have water. The Chargers never had it. The Browns also never had that, but the Colts and the Raiders do. It's actually very juicy because they have a ranking of NFL teams based on how they treat their family. I would say the Raiders are pretty up there. We've already had like 4 or 5 events dedicated to the wives, the girlfriends, the families, and it just feels like a very family-oriented team. That's not to knock the other NFL teams that my husband has been with, but I'm sure it varies each year too because there's one specific girl who is in charge of like coordinating all this stuff. She is there to answer our questions. If you have a problem on game day, you can text her. I would say like she's a player personnel kind of person, but more like family personnel. And that can be a huge relief because you never know, right? Like if my husband were to get injured on the NFL field, I'm literally knocking on wood right now, but if he were to be injured, she would probably be the first person I would text. And that can just be a relief in and of itself. So let's say I walk into the stadium, I go up to my seats, I'm in the general public, I'm sitting in just a regular seat. Now, the question that everybody has been wondering, the question I kind of hinted at earlier on in the beginning of this episode, do NFL players have to pay for the tickets for their family members? The answer, kinda. Each NFL player is allotted 2 complimentary tickets to every NFL home game, and that is it. They're also given the opportunity to purchase 2 tickets to every away game, but they have to purchase the away game tickets. And you never want to buy an away game ticket through the team because the other team is in charge of deciding where you sit, and it's usually in the nosebleeds, okay? The Chicago Bears, if you are visiting the Chicago Bears to see your husband play and you guys are the away team, the odds that you are so high up in the stadium, I do not recommend it. So for any away game, usually what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'll purchase it through StubHub or Ticketmaster. I'm just like everybody else, right? Like we got to get our tickets somehow. But for home games, every player does receive 2 complimentary tickets. And then in addition to those tickets, you have to purchase them. Now, if Isaac's teammate is not having any family come to the game, Isaac can then ask that teammate, hey, can you transfer me your tickets, your free tickets? And then Isaac could have 4 free tickets. So as long as he can find another player that isn't using his free tickets, it can still be free. It's just a lot of like asking around the locker room, asking around your teammates. It's crazy because so many people think that NFL players just get these unlimited amount of tickets when in reality they don't. So if you're an acquaintance of me and Isaac, you could ask like, hey, can we get a ticket to the game this weekend? But if we're already using up our free tickets, the odds you're going to pay for that ticket are 100% because they are expensive. NFL tickets for tonight's football game against the Packers in Las Vegas, $300 per ticket. I'm sorry, I'm not paying that if I don't really know you that well. And at the end of the day, it's like, okay, 2 tickets, it's $600. That's a lot of money to pay for somebody who's not family or not like a close friend or somebody you invited to the football game. If we invite people to a football game, Isaac will usually know ahead of time. He can start poaching guys like, hey, I know you don't have family coming in town. I know you don't have family coming in town. And he'll kind of get ahead of the game. But also if we invite family or friends, we are like making the decision to invite them. So we would never ask them to pay for that ticket. But if we are going to an away game, it might get a little bit more interesting. Like, hey, okay, so like we never make like our close family pay, like parents, siblings, we will never make them pay for a ticket. But then it kind of gets a little bit more interesting. Like, okay, like friends are coming. Okay, like that's starting to look like $2,000 for tickets. So it gets a little bit more interesting around that. But the tickets are just in the general area. Usually there's a family section, but the family section is always infiltrated with fans from the other fan base, just regular fans in general. So it's not really a huge like family section, I would say. But if you're asking the team for a ticket, it's going to be in that designated section. As for NFL suites, you do not get a free NFL suite. Some guys will write it into their contract, but it has to be a nice contract, especially if you're with the Raiders, because the Raiders suites are hundreds of thousands of dollars for the entire football season. Like, I'm sorry, but excuse me? Although I did attend one game in a Raiders suite, they had Wagyu, they had sushi. I was like, holy shit, this is nicer than my apartment. But we're moving on from that. So during the football game, I sit in my seat. I'm not allowed to go down onto the field. I'm not allowed any additional perks. I think maybe I get like a discount on food and drink. Maybe. Some stadiums do that for family members. I'm not sure if the Raiders do or not. I clearly haven't exercised the right to use it because I really don't leave my seat. I kind of just sit there, hang out. I'll try and get my husband's attention like, hey, I'm over here. Remember me? I'm your wife. And I just kind of watch the football game. That's that. What Isaac does from the time he enters the stadium 2 hours or 3 hours before the football game to the time he leaves, I couldn't tell you what that man does. It would be very interesting for Isaac to record that and upload that. Maybe I'll have him record that and I'll upload it to the Instagram. So if you guys aren't following it, go over there and follow it. But that would be very interesting because I actually don't even know what he does. So after the football game, I then go back through the entrance that I had originally came up through. And I go back down to like this little family area. It's really cute. They have waters, they have food, and they have TVs to like watch other football games that still might be on. And all of the family kind of congregates in this area. You can only get down to this area if you have a pass. I have not forgotten my pass to the family area for the Raiders, but I can only imagine that it is hell trying to get down there because they have literally stopped me and been like, you don't have your pass on. Because it's like a little sticker. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Like, do I have to put it on? Like, I'm holding it. They're like, no, you have to put it on or else you're not allowed. And I'm like, okay, sorry. And it's really funny because everybody thinks the NFL is so glamorous. And oh my God, you must get so many benefits as an NFL wife. It's like, ma'am, I'm literally pulling up my husband on Wikipedia. I'm showing her wedding photos. Like, please let me into the family section. So after every NFL game, I just kind of sit there and wait for my husband. It's kind of adorable and like quirky at the same time because I'm just like sitting there just like hang out with some of the girls. We were talking about the game, and then my husband comes out after taking a shower and like getting unready. Obviously, he takes off his uniform before coming home, kind of goes into this little pig pen because it's fenced off for the family. And he's like, oh, there's my wife. Okay, let's go. And then we head out and we go home to the game. Usually by the time that my husband comes out from the locker room and we head home, the traffic is all gone. Everybody has left. It's usually a very empty stadium. So the traffic that we once had coming into the stadium is now no longer because it just takes a minute for Isaac to take off his pads, talk to the team. Like they do their little huddles and whatnot. It's adorable. They like huddle and like have like debriefing sessions. After that, we jump in the car and we drive home together. We've never not driven home together after a football game. It's always nice to like decompress, talk about the game, whether it's a win, a loss. And that is what our NFL game day looks like. We go home. We 9 times out of 10 are ordering Wingstop, although Isaac usually comes out of the locker room with some type of food. He usually brings me a little something, but it's we usually end up getting Wingstop once we get home. So that is what a NFL game day at home routine looks like. I'm sure I missed a few things. If I do, I could always do a part 2 on this. And I do plan on doing an away game because an away game is very different. And it depends if I'm traveling, if I'm staying at home, what that kind of looks like. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. This was definitely a shorter-ish episode. I didn't really do any like up to date, like what's happening at the NFL right now or like current event style content, but it's honestly kind of boring around the NFL right now, which is nice. It's kind of nice for things to be boring every once in a while. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And if you have any questions or topics you want me to cover in the next episode, feel free to go over to Sunday Sports Club Podcast Instagram and DM me what you want to know, questions you have. Isaac and I are going to be coming out with a bonus episode of questions, and we're just going to rapid fire question, answer. And I think it'll be fun for you guys to get both my perspective and his perspective. So be on the lookout for that. If you guys haven't given the podcast a review, please leave it a review. That's super, super helpful for me. And be sure to share this podcast with somebody who doesn't know a fucking thing about football. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you next Monday.